and welcome to my talk show. Yes, I know, it's epic. I'm going to be talking to loads of different creators in this little mini-series, all of which make very different types of videos. Very excited to talk to all of them, so let's just get started. Welcome, Phillip Timothy. Welcome to my show. I'm going to be interviewing you about your music. How long have you been making music?
I've been making music for like 9 years, actually. You know, when you're first making it, it's just kind of messing around and you don't want to show anybody. The more you start doing it, you're like, oh, I might put something on the internet. Yeah, I started off, I was just making beats and stuff like that, and that was really fun. One thing leads to another, you're like, oh man, I want to rap on these. And then one thing leads to another, you're like, man, I need an album cover. So you start learning how to shoot photos, and then it's like, well, now I want a music video. So then you start teaching yourself how to shoot videos, and then boom, next thing you know, you make an animated movie.
So essentially you went from just producing beats to then wanting to sing on them.
I used to be a firefighter, and
wow.
Yeah, I was doing wildland fire too, so I was out in the middle of the forest. When you're out there, you don't really it's hard to like get phone service and stuff like that, so they lost their place while we were out there. So I was like, hey, you guys can crash with me until you get back on your feet, you know, because they couldn't pay the rent out there. One of the dudes was using this app called FL Studio on the computer, and I went in the other room. I was like, hey man, what are you doing? That looks fun. And he's like, oh, I'm making beats, but my girl's calling me right now. You want to mess with it? And I was like, sure. And then I started playing with it, and I completely ruined his beat, and I couldn't figure out any of the buttons. But I remember like literally just not being able to figure anything out, and I was like so obsessed, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So I saved up for a few months to get like a computer and then software. And ever since then, it basically ruined my life. I just make it stuff every day since then.
That's amazing.
I wasn't really doing like artistic type of stuff. Like I was creative when I was a kid, but I wasn't like, I kind of went away from that for a while.
Your production on Zoober Zloob is really creative. You use like loads of different like percussion beats and really kind of unconventional instruments. It just sounds really unique.
So when I was first tinkering with FL Studio, I wasn't even really trying to make beats. I was just trying to do like weird sound design. Because of that, like I designed all my own like synths and stuff like that and everything. So that's why everything sounds like different, but like it sounds like I made it, if that makes sense.
It's intrinsic to your kind of style that you've made.
All the music on there I made like 5 years ago. So like for me, it's like, oh man, I wish I could put the newer stuff in there. So it's kind of weird putting it out, you know, knowing it's so old to me, and I'm like making way different type of stuff.
Because it's taken 5 years to make the movie.
So here's how it kind of went. When I first started this, especially my first year or two, I was imagining like this really colorful, imaginative world, I guess, when I was first making music, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. 2 of the songs I kind of reworked. The last song, I think that was I want to say that was the first music video. It was so complex that I couldn't export it. I'm kind of glad it didn't go, because I would have dropped that song first, and I didn't even have the album like done. I was just kind of, you know, just dropping songs. I'm more of like a nature-y type of person, I guess. My movie is like a very big juxtaposition to like, you know, what I like to do and where I'd like to be at. I think the first music video I made, that was the first one I finished, and that was because I was just trying to teach myself how to do 3D. That one I think took the second longest. It took me so many months to make. Maybe even a year to make, actually, that one altogether.
That music video, the first music video.
Yeah, and then after I got over that hump, I was like, dang, like now what? So like it took me a few months to like kind of work on the next one, because I didn't think about making a movie after that. It made me think, you know, what happens next in the story? Oh, wait a minute, I could do one for every song on the album. I got so obsessed with it, and at that point, I was making Jimothy. I'm wearing the shirt right now. So then I just had this, you know, period of obsession where I finished all of them up into the last 2 songs. Each one would be like 2 or 3 weeks, and it would be obsessive. It'd be like from when I would wake up to when I go to sleep, and then some nights I would just stay up like 2 nights in a row, just because I was like, I have to finish this in the 2 or 3 weeks. I had this rule: I couldn't go to sleep unless I finished at least one usable clip, and I have to use it in some capacity. Because you got to think about it. A movie, you look at how long it takes to make a movie. It might take 5 or 10 years, and if you look at the credits, there's like hundreds of people working on it. It was just me by myself.
Is that why there's no credits to Zoober Zloob? It's just like everything by me.
Yeah, so I was like, because everybody's like, you should have credits. I'm like, okay, directed Phillip Timothy, animated Phillip Timothy, voiced Phillip Timothy. Yeah, so it'd be kind of funny. When you're like in an obsessive creative mode, it's not even like you make it. It's like this other part of you that makes it in a way. So I was just like, who cares? I know I made it. 40% of the movie was like this obsessive period where it was like a clip a day. And then I got to a point where my skills were getting too good. Then I was like, man, I might be hurting the quality of the movie by doing the clip a day. Second to last video took me a really long time to make, 2 or 3 months. The last video on there, that took me almost a year to make as well. Let's say a 10-second clip. It would take me on 3 laptops a month to export it.
I was gonna ask about that because just the technical side of it. You did it in Blender, right?
Yeah.
So you did it on cycles. It takes ages to render out just one frame.
Yeah, people don't know that. So like Toy Story took like a year to export, and I'm pretty sure this movie took about a year to export or more. But I had a little cheat. If you happen to have like, you know, 1 or 2 laptops just sitting around, you can use one laptop strictly for working and nothing else. So you have a spare laptop, you can just let that render in the background. I had 3 laptops running, so I would always be rendering no matter what.
So it's like a render farm.
Yeah, pretty much.
About the music though, what artists have influenced your work?
That's a tough question because I listen to everybody and everything. I don't care. Like, if it sounds cool, I rock with it. I don't really dwell on things I make. So I'll just make something and then I'll obsess over it for like, you know, like a week or 2. I'll do that and then boom, I could just move on to the next concept. And then maybe like I come back like a few months later, I'm like, oh man, I forgot. I wonder what stuff I made. And I'm like, I don't even remember making this, but this sounds awesome. The creative brain where you're just never satisfied, it's kind of awesome because it makes you make the next thing instead of just making one thing and that's your magnum opus and then you never try to make anything else.
I think the term magnum opus is a bit, not self-destructive, but kind of, because then you tell yourself like, this is the best thing I'll ever make. I've peaked, my life has peaked, now it's downhill from here, back pain, death, broken bones.
I think it's good if your newest thing is always your magnum opus. My next movie I'm working on, to me, that's my next magnum opus. One thing about making a movie is it makes you broke. But I'm working on like this juice brand. Essentially, I'm making a character for it. For me, it's like, okay, how do I do this still, but you know, be able to afford food basically. So I'm like working on the juice brand. So you spend 100 hours on a video. You only satisfy one person. If I working on a product that a lot of people could, you know, drink and enjoy, I might spend that same 100 hours and maybe 1,000 people can enjoy the product.
Do you have a favorite song or scene or line from Zoober Zloob? My favorite song is probably either the first or Library Love or maybe the last one.
I think that my favorite one, just because I think the video was cool.
It's called Honesty, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, that one. The video, to me, is the best video I made on all of them. That was the first one where I really incorporated the 3D, papery-ish, like, hand-drawn style in, like, the most perfect way. And it, like, will give me dreams, I guess, for the next movie. I feel like I could live in that world, I guess, if that makes sense. The way I make stuff, I don't really need to watch it.
You kind of just put it out and then you just move on.
Well, yeah, when I do finally watch it, it's like new to me. So I made all the music videos first. I knew I was going to add stuff in between, but I didn't even write the storyline. I had a client that, like, scammed me. And I was so mad about this client. It forced me into like this creative binge that like helped me finish the movie. It was like it was like the best, worst thing ever.
So it was like a revenge binge.
Yeah, I was so angry I just had to finish it.
And you just sat at the computer for like 7 days.
No, it was exactly like that. A period of like 6 months.
Oh my god.
It was like thousands of dollars they scammed me out of. And I was like, man, I'm not doing anything for my business right now until I finish this movie. And I was like, all right, cool. Next thing you know, 6 months later, I'm just finishing it up. Mind you, I had a month worth of budget of money left. I basically starved myself to finish this movie. I would like ration out how much money I had for how much I could eat. Like, for example, I'm like, okay, I don't need to eat for this because there's no part that's vital for my voice or like mental. Like, for example, I think editing the audio, I think I didn't eat for like a whole week.
Jesus.
Obviously, if I die, then I don't finish the movie, boom.
That's the only thing you have to worry about, just not finishing the movie.
But it cost me everything to realize it costs nothing to be happy.
As long as, as long as you're doing okay. I really liked the kind of critics-artist divide message. The critic who looks up to Anthony Fantano, and then he makes this kind of dictatorship society where there's no color. Was it kind of like the message that if you critique a piece of art too much, then it loses all of its color?
Naturally, every single person that exists critiques. You see these reviewers and they'll be like crapping on something. I'm like, there's no way in your life you could even make that. And also at the same time, that character is me in a way, so it's like, I don't want to put it out, so because I'm critiquing my own self. Anything we ever critique, there's almost no way we could do it how that person did it. That's what I love about art, is good or bad, the person that made it in a way that only they're gonna make it.
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong answer because it's just unique to them, and that's what makes it kind of awesome. If they made it exactly how you wanted it, and everybody made something exactly how you wanted it, all the art would be exactly the same. It would just be, it'll be gray.
If it's too regulated and it's too like, you need to do this, you need to do that, and it's like, where's the humanity?
You need bad art, you need good art, you need medium art, you need art in any kind of way it is, but not the same. And it's, even if it is the same, people just have their own unique touches and tastes. If you like it or hate it, if that's how you made it, that's how it's supposed to be.
That seems to be kind of the mission statement with Zoober Zloob.
I'll never be able to make anything like that again. You know, to me it was worth, I guess, a whole chunk of my life.
So you made it more for you and not for other people.
When I make something, I'm seeing it too for the first time because I never got to see it inside my head. And it's like almost like a creative blackout.
I wanted to ask about Whipped Cream Jimothy. Where did he come from?
He's a side project, but he's also like my testing and proving ground for everything. I was like really tired one night and I was about to go to sleep. Boom! It hit me like a ton of bricks. I just woke up like a movie, just Jimothy. And then I got up the next morning, went to like the supply store. And so I made Jimothy out of like clay a few years ago. Right before I started living in my car, I remember having the clay versions and I was like, had to throw them away, obviously. And there's no way in life I'll be able to get the skills enough to ever make Jimothy in 3D. And then boom, all of a sudden, Jimothy's completely 3D.
I want to ask 2 more questions.
Sure, yeah.
What are your plans for the future?
Technically, I'm working on 2 movies. But one of them, the storyline is it's so heavily inspired from when I was living in the Rogue in my car, and like it was during the pandemic when like everything shut down the gyms, and so I was literally like bathing in the river. So inspired by that period of my life, writing that next movie. The other movie I'm working on is inspired by a lot of books that I would read. I'm working on my like businesses and stuff like that too. So my long-term goal is to make it successful enough that I can afford, one, to always be able to afford to animate stuff and just make art. I'll always be able to afford to do it and I won't have to starve myself to do it, and that I can extend that opportunity to other people. They can work with me and there'll always be a job for them doing artistic stuff. That's my plans for now.
Phillip Timothy, thank you for coming on this talk show. I have one last question for you. Any plugs?
No plugs for right now, but if you haven't seen Zoober Zloob, go watch that.
Go watch Zoober Zloob.
Well, no, I want to plug you because obviously you're a creative guy too. So.
Alright, I'm gonna plug my own thing. Go watch my film. There you go. That's it. Are you sure you don't want to plug anything else? It is your space to do this.
There's nothing on there yet, but if you're wondering what my juice brand is going to be called, it's called Zloob.
Look out for Zloob. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it was good talking to you, and good luck.
Thanks so much.
With
you
your
too.
future endeavors.
Good luck with your movies and your juice brand and Jimothy as well, maybe. Yeah, just thanks so much. It's been great.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.